Hello and welcome back to some more Snooker 19 and another experiment on the channel where we look at part 2 of what happens if Mark Williams retires from snooker. So today we're starting with season 4, and as you can see, after the first 3 seasons we had some different types of results. We've got Jack Lisowski in there at number 8. I believe he won the shootout at some point in the save to win his first ranking title. Kyron Wilson is in the top 7 as well. Ronnie O'Sullivan, Mark Selby and Neil Robertson seem to be the big hitters. Judd Trump is in there. Higgins is in there sometimes. So we're going to do a further 3 seasons today and see exactly what will happen. And I think the trend that we're seeing is that we get more and more varied results as we go through the season. So I will do one in the future where we maybe go forward 10 years and see how different the landscape is. So here we go. The Kaspersky Riga Masters, and it's Mark Selby versus Kyron Wilson, and Kyron Wilson wins it. That's an interesting start to today's episode, him beating Mark Selby 5-2 in the final. So Yushan World Open, Mark Selby versus Ronnie, and Ronnie wins it 10 frames to 3. So here we go, forward into the Indian Open, European Masters and China Championship qualifying. Always got to be careful not to enter those tournaments. And then we go into Paul Hunter Classic. What's it going to be? Neil Robertson versus Judd Trump, with Neil Robertson coming out on top 4-2. 6 Red World Championship then in Thailand, Selby versus O'Sullivan, and Selby wins this one in a decider 8-7. Shanghai Masters then, who's going to win this one, Alan or Ronnie? And it's going to be Ronnie 11-4. Obviously those last 2 tournaments not making any inroads on the rankings. Indian Open Snooker World Championship, and then we've got the Kyron Wilson O'Sullivan final that everybody was asking for, and O'Sullivan wins it 5-3. But Kyron Wilson featuring a lot at the moment. Ronnie versus Mark Allen in the China Championship, and it's Ronnie that wins it. International Championship qualifiers, we'll skip through them, and then we head into the European Masters then in Lommel. Jack Lisowski gets to the final versus Mark Selby, sorry. Mark Selby will probably win this, but it would be lovely to see Lisowski win it. Not bad, 9-4. But nice to see Jack in the final. English Open then. Allen versus Trump. Allen wins it, so a new name appears. International Championship, Allen versus Selby. Selby wins it. So going into the Champion of Champions then. O'Sullivan Wilson again. O'Sullivan wins it 10-9, but Wilson getting ever closer to being a dominant force, you feel like. Allen versus Selby. Allen wins it 9-7. Into the first Triple Crown event of the season, and we'll have a quick gander at what is happening in the rankings. Obviously, David Lilley was somebody that was hovering around the top 64. He's now 71 in the world. Would be interesting to see if he ever makes it into that top 64, now that he's got an increased ranking. Just having a flick through these. Fergal O'Brien up to 39. Interesting to see. Matthew Stevens almost in the top 32. Who's 17? So 17 is Zhao Guodong. Ali Carter still is in 16th. So you can see Lisowski is still 8th. It looks like Higgins is down to 7, which is an interesting one. Kyron Wilson now into the top 6. Mark Allen 4th, ahead of Trump. Ronnie O'Sullivan still leading the way. So first Triple Crown event of the season. The first one I could really see some change. And wow, it's Jack Lisowski versus Mark Selby again in the final. Oh, Mark Selby wins it 10 frames to 4. But Lisowski's starting to do well. So we'll keep an eye on that as we go through. Ronnie versus Neil in the Scottish Open. Ronnie wins it 9-3. German Masters then. Mark Selby, the defending champion. And then we've got the Championship League. Lisowski O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan wins. Not that surprising. Lisowski Selby. Selby wins. But Lisowski definitely featuring a lot in these finals. Judd Trump versus Kyron Wilson then in the final of the Dafabet Masters. And Judd Trump wins it 10-5. Championship League 3, Lesowski again versus Robertson this time. Losers for the third consecutive Championship League final. This time it's winner-winner chicken dinner Stuart Bingham who takes on Trump, and Bingham wins it 3-1. Fair play. German Masters, Trump versus O'Sullivan, and O'Sullivan wins it. Into the World Grand Prix then. Trump versus Robertson. Robertson wins 10-4. And we'll check the rankings after the final Home Nations event of the season. Selby versus Robertson. Selby wins it 9-1. That's a big victory for the jester from Leicester. Well, let's get through these Championship League nonsense tournaments. Wilson versus Allen. Allen wins it. And then the shootout. So let's have a little look. What's going on at the top? Ronnie still leading the way, but only 9,000 ahead of Selby. Robertson is third. Trump back up into fourth ahead of Mark Allen. Stuart Bingham comfortable in ninth. But look at Jack Lesowski. He's very close to moving into the top 7 and moving above John Higgins. So let's have a little look at the snooker shootout then. Who is the defending champion? I think it's Lesowski. Oh, it's not. It's Selby. So it's Ronnie versus Selby. And Selby wins it 1-0. Maybe I was dreaming that Lesowski won a tournament. Selby versus Trump in the players, and Selby wins it. He's starting to dominate a bit now, Selby. This is exactly what I was talking about regarding him. Tour Championship, O'Sullivan, Selby. O'Sullivan wins it. It is just the O'Sullivan and Selby show at the moment. Kyron Wilson versus Jack Lesowski, and poor Jack Lesowski. He's been there most of the finals of the Championship League and didn't get through into the winners group. But O'Sullivan versus Wilson in the final. O'Sullivan wins the Championship League. So, Snooker China Open. We'll have a quick look. I think Mark Selby will have overtook O'Sullivan, and he has done. He's over 100,000 ahead now. You can see Lesowski closing in on John Higgins, so we'll see how that goes in the coming tournaments. This one's a big one. O'Sullivan Wilson in the final of the China Open, and it's Kyron Wilson that wins it. That is a huge victory for him, winning that 10 frames to 7, because now Kyron Wilson will surely be above Mark Allen, and he is. And look at that. Look how close he is to the £1 million club. Kyron Wilson could be our next dominant force. Jack Lesowski has gone above John Higgins as well. So there you go. Some big results there. Let's skip the qualifiers. Tom Ford with the highest break in that of 111. World Snooker Championship then. Who is going to get to the final? Oh, Selby versus O'Sullivan. That's disappointing. I was expecting maybe a Lesowski or a Kyron in there. But Ronnie wins it finally. Beats Mark Selby in a deciding frame 18-17. So 4 seasons down, this is what the rankings look like. Who had a good World Championship? Did anybody? Wilson must have, because he's now top 4. Trump has dropped down into 5th position. Lesowski has had a decent World Championship, but so has Higgins. He's still biting at his heels. Hawkins and Bingham are comfortable in 10th and 9th. Dave Gilbert up there as well. Sean Murphy closing in on the top 10. But you can see Ding, Brissell, Maguire, Carter cut off almost from that top 12, and then Liu Haishan is in 17th. Graham Dott there as well. Any changes down here? Doesn't look to be the case. Fergal O'Brien still 39th. Alan McManus 38th as well. That's really good to see. Any massive names down here? Not that I'm seeing, but please let me know if you see any big shocks down here in the peasant crew, as we like to call them. It doesn't look like it. It looks all fairly normal down at the bottom of the rankings, of course, apart from Mark Williams at 128. So here we go. Kaspersky Riga Masters then. Stephen Maguire getting the top break in that qualifying. Mark Allen as well in that one. So Riga Masters then. Jack Lesowski gets to the final. The first event of the season. Now remember, Kyron is the defending champion here, and he had a pretty good season after he won this event. But Allen wins it 5-2. But I suppose a different sort of final than what we've come to expect. Selby Robertson in that one, with Robertson coming out on top. So Selby in a little rough patch of not winning the tournament for a little bit. So we'll see how that develops through this season. O'Sullivan Selby, well there you go, Selby wins the next tournament. O'Sullivan still hasn't won a tournament in this season yet. He's won the 6 Reds though, beating Kyron in a decider. Shanghai Masters, Selby Trump, Selby wins. Indian Open then, back to the ranking tournaments. Allen versus Selby, and Selby wins it. Wish I'd never said anything now. China Championship, Allen versus Selby, Selby wins it. International Championship coming up in a bit. But first we have the European Masters, Selby versus O'Sullivan, and Selby wins it. He's won every tournament since I've said he's had a bit of a dry patch. He must have heard me. English Open, Higgins versus Robertson, so we haven't seen John for a while in a final. International Championship, O'Sullivan versus Robertson, O'Sullivan wins it. Champion of Champions, O'Sullivan Selby. Disappointing to see that Wilson and Lisowski haven't really featured much this season, particularly Wilson. Barry Hawkins in the final against Selby, only loses 9-6 as well. Let's have a little look then at the rankings as we go into the first Triple Crown event. You can see Lisowski's still in 7th there. Kyron's dropped back below Mark Allen, which is a bit of a shame. Stuart Bingham still in 9th. Hawkins still in 10th. And nothing really changing down below. So you can see Selby building a bit of a gap at the top now as we go into the first Triple Crown event. Obviously Lisowski or Wilson, I can't remember which one, got the final last year. Wilson in the final this year, and Wilson wins the UK Championship. That's another huge victory for Kyron Wilson. You'll see he will be definitely in 4th now in the £1 Million Club, and well, closing in on Neil Robertson. Wonderful to see. Wonderful to see. Right, Scottish Open then. Here we go. Selby versus O'Sullivan, and Selby wins it. Selby seems to have a bit of a stranglehold on that #1 ranking at the minute. Brissell versus Selby in the Championship League 1. It's a name we haven't seen certainly for a little while. Higgins beats O'Sullivan. Could that be the turnaround that his season needs? Ronnie wins the Dafabet Masters, so he's beaten the final of the UK, obviously world champion this year. Could have maybe held all 3 titles at the same time, but Wilson stopped him doing that. Here we go then, German Masters. Selby versus Lisowski, gets to another final, but can't get past the jester from Leicester. World Grand Prix, O'Sullivan Wilson. O'Sullivan wins it. Welsh Open then. Final home nation event of the season, O'Sullivan versus Trump, and Trump wins that one. Championship League 5, David Gilbert versus Mark Allen, and Mark Allen wins. Championship League 6, it's going to be Ding Junhui versus Barry Hawkins, and Ding Junhui wins it. There you go. Shame it wasn't a ranking event. Snooker shootout. Who's going to come out on top here? O'Sullivan or Trump? Ronnie O'Sullivan wins it. So, let's have a quick rankings check before the final 4 massive tournaments of the season. So Selby #1, O'Sullivan #2, Robertson 3, Wilson 4, Lisowski 7, Hawkins up to 9 now, Gilbert 11, Ding. Yeah, nothing else really changing down below. Players' Championship then. Robertson versus Higgins. Robertson wins. Bit of a, turn up for the books there. Gibraltar Open. Robertson versus O'Sullivan. O'Sullivan wins it 4-1. Tour Championship then. Wilson versus O'Sullivan. Seems to be a new rivalry like we've seen in my career mode. And O'Sullivan wins it 9-2. That's a big victory for Ronnie. Championship League 7. Trump versus Hawkins. Trump wins it in a decider. Championship League winners. O'Sullivan versus Trump. And O'Sullivan wins it. Snooker China Open. Now obviously Kyron Wilson won this last year. Could be a big one to see somebody different. But it's Mark Allen versus Mark Selby, and Selby wins it, unfortunately. Right then, World Championship. We're back round again at the end of Season 5 now. It's Ronnie versus Mark Selby for, I think, the 3rd or 4th consecutive year. And Ronnie wins it this time much more comfortably. He beats Mark Selby by 18 frames to 9. Unbelievable. So there you go. At the end of Season 5, this is what the rankings look like. Ronnie now at the top, Selby 2nd, Robertson 3rd, Wilson 4th. Gilbert up to 9, so he must have had a decent World Championship. Nothing else of note particularly to tell you about. Obviously Alan McManus was in the top 40 before, as was Fergal O'Brien. He's moved down to 48, so he must have had the best of seasons. Lilly up to 69. Well, look at that. Dave Lilly up to 69 in the world. Right, we'll do one final season of this, and you guys can decide whether we do some more in the next experiment video. Kaspersky, Riga Masters, then O'Sullivan versus Neil Robertson. O'Sullivan wins it. Yushan World Open, O'Sullivan Higgins. O'Sullivan wins it. So O'Sullivan starting to dominate. Is he going to win the Paul Hunter Classic? That's the next tournament of the season. Here we go. Definitely not, because it's Allen versus Selby again. And Selby wins it. 2 invitational events coming up. Selby's Robertson. Robertson wins it. Robertson's been very quiet recently. And it's a surprise that he's number 3 in the world. But he's won 2 of the invitational events in a row. But now O'Sullivan back on it once it's back to the rankings. China Championship. Oh, Kyron Wilson wins it. That's a big one. Another big tournament for him to win. Another one for his checkbook. European Masters. Robertson Selby. Selby wins that one. First Home Nations event in the English Open. Robertson versus Jack Lazowski. And Robertson wins it. As International Championship. Trump versus Robbo. And Robertson absolutely thrashes him in the final. I'd have loved to have seen that. Wilson versus Trump in the Champion of Champions, and Kyron Wilson shows him who's boss. Second Home Nations event of the season, Ronnie versus Mark. Ronnie wins at 9-6, so Ronnie must be running away at the top now in the 3 million club, almost. Wilson catching up to Robbo, comfortable in 4th. Lazowski now up to 6th, so that's interesting. Higgins and Mark Allen very, very close on prize money. Nothing else of note happening. First Home Nation Triple Crown event of the season with the UK Championship. Kyron Wilson defending champion, but O'Sullivan trumped this year, and it's O'Sullivan again. Now he's on track to hold all 3 Triple Crown events. I'm pretty sure he won the Masters actually, so he probably does hold them all now. But can he win them all in a season? Ah, for goodness sake, here we go. First slip up of the day. I do apologise about that. But we'll quickly concede this. Playing Stuart Bingham. I feel like we played Bingham in the last match. I messed up.
The first round of qualifying for the German Masters. The players need to win 2 matches to make it to Berlin's Tempodrome.
It's a very important match. All of these players looking to get to Germany, to the Tempodrome, where the tournament really gets underway.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. The first frame, Stuart Bingham to break.
So here we go, Stuart Bingham is going to break off in this best of 9 match. Oh yeah, I forgot it was no aiming. Right, let's bust these reds open. Well, this is a good chance for Stuart.
Played that better.
Hey, well done. Well done, Stuart.
Decent position to...
Cracking break of 1 wins you the
Frame
match.
conceded. Frame and match. Stuart Bingham.
And that puts him into the next round.
So there you go then. 5-0 Stuart Bingham. Cracking result for the ball run. Well, gets out of bed some days to go and play 1 pot. But here we go. Oh, wow. Graham Dott, the pocket dynamo. Unfortunately, doesn't win it. Would have been cool though. Championship League 2, Selby versus Gilbert. Selby wins it. Daffabet Masters then. Kyron Wilson versus David Gilbert. Where did this one come from? Wilson wins it 10-8 though. That's crazy. Lazowski versus Gilbert. David Gilbert is all of a sudden coming strong. The Angry Farmer. Barry Hawkins versus Wilson. Where's Selby? Where's Higgins? Where's Robertson? Now there's Robertson. Oh, I was hoping Barry Hawkins would win that. Oh, here we go. Back to normal. Normal service resumed, everyone. Panic over. O'Sullivan, Selby. O'Sullivan wins again. I mean, Ronnie must be delighted. But look at this. Lazowski Wilson in the Championship League. There just seems to be odd players in the finals. Obviously, Wilson's a big player now, but Ding versus Robertson. Ding doesn't win that one. Snooker shootout. Robertson Selby. Robertson wins. And before we get into the final 4 tournaments of this video, O'Sullivan well ahead at the top. You can see Kyron Wilson still comfortable in number 4. Lazowski 7, Gilbert 9, Hawkins 10, Murphy 11, Bingham 12. Bingham's dropping down a bit now, actually, into this little cluster at the bottom of the top 16. Let's move on then. Players' Championship. Short Murphy gets to the final against Ronnie. Doesn't win though. But nice to see him in the final. Wow, Lazowski versus Ronnie now. And Ronnie wins it. Tour Championship. Selby Higgins. Selby wins. Championship League 7. Brissell versus Higgins. Higgins wins. Championship League winners. O'Sullivan, Higgins. Higgins wins. Wow, that came from nowhere. China Open. Trump versus Robbo. And Robbo wins 10-7. Final tournament of this save then. Jimmy Robertson with the top break in that one. World Championship. It's been Ronnie and Mark Selby for as long as memory has existed. This time it's O'Sullivan, Robertson. And Ronnie wins the final World Championship of this video. Absolutely insane. It is crazy how well Ronnie has done in that World Championship for this save. But there's the final look at it from this video. Ronnie O'Sullivan leads the way, 2.8 million. He's $1 million ahead of Mark Selby. Neil Robertson is 3rd, Kyron Wilson 4th, Judd Trump in 5th. Mark Allen in 6th, Lazowski 7, Higgins 8, Gilbert 9, Murphy up to 10 now, Hawkins 11, Bingham 12, Ding Junhui 13th, Maguire 14th, Brissell 15th, and Ali Carter, who we've seen nothing of really in this video, in 16th. As you sort of go down, you can see there's some names you might recognise down there. Let me know if you see any particular shocks happening. David Lilly's still in 69th position. Nobody in the pleb level that you wouldn't expect, to be perfectly honest. So there you go. That is the end of this video and potentially the end of this experiment. Although I am very tempted to do another 3 seasons to see how Wilson and Lazowski and even Gilbert, who seems to have come from nowhere in this save, get on in the next video. So let me know if you've enjoyed it by hitting that thumbs up. There's 3 links down below in the description that you can use to help you help the Two-phase project, but a free way to do that is by just clicking the like button, and that would be absolutely fantastic. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.